watching this replay. My name is Kashira. I am a certified life, business, and success coach. I primarily work with high achieving women in the online coaching course, digital product space on starting, launching, scaling their online practices. I am coming to you with another session within our Coach Continuing Education Month series. I hope you have been enjoying this series all month long. Hey, Lisa. If you have been like out of the loop, you are not caught up, make sure you check out the other 6 videos thus far in the series. If you're on my Instagram, if you go under the video button or the guides tab, I've put them in both places. You can find that. And also on my YouTube channel, if you just search my name, we have a Coach Continuing Education Month playlist. And you're probably like, what is that? Well, this is a series that I'm starting this month where my goal is to help coaches with their own personal professional development. No matter what phase of business you're in, we have content for you. Hey, Renata over on Facebook. Today, we're going to talk about how to protect yourself emotionally as a coach. This session will not be too long, but it is very important nonetheless. If you are someone who is an empath, you are just genuinely like someone that just really cares, you know, very heart-centered. It's very easy for you to get attached and connected to people. You find yourself caring very deeply about your clients. The session is very much for you because it's not something that we talk about a lot as a coach, right? I don't think people talk enough about what's really required to maintain your own peace of mind and your own sanity when you're coaching someone else, especially those of you that are in the life coaching, spiritual coaching, trauma coaching spaces. And it's fascinating because even as a business coach, I still deal with this. And I even remember asking my own life coach, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I remember just ending the session and it was a great session, but I didn't feel like myself. I felt so just out of body experience. So I wanted to share with you some things that I've been doing since then that has helped me to maintain my peace, to protect myself, to ensure that I'm still able to show up for myself, to ensure that I'm still able to show up for the people that's around me, my friends and family, that I still have time and space to deal with what I got to deal with, right? So going into that, the very first thing that I want you to begin to think about is how you're choosing to, and if you're choosing to, set proper expectations and boundaries with your clients. I get a lot of burned out coaches on my line who are like, I'm ready to just get rid of coaching altogether and go straight to courses because I can't keep dealing with people. And what's happening is they still love what they do, but they're very much burned out from being pulled on too much. And this typically happens when we're not setting the right expectations. And this is more than just simply did you put your policies in the long welcome PDF you email to them. Like, they're probably not even reading all the way through, but it's you actually being firm and enforcing those policies. So a couple of little things for you to think about when it comes to your communication policy. Are you guilty of saying, reach out to me whenever? Email me anytime, text me anytime, message me whenever. I'm always available for you. Because when you say those things subconsciously, you're like preparing yourself for that to happen. So then you find yourself always on guard, checking your email, checking your phone, but then you get upset when people are actually messaging you all times of day, all times of night, not saying hello, just going into their problems. You have to be very cautious of how you communicate to people. I'm available for you, but at the same time, you don't want to be fully available. So when it comes to your communication policy, you want to let your clients know when your business hours are. Like, as coaches, even if you have a non-typical schedule, maybe you do coach in the evenings or on weekends, whatever, still that's a part of your business hours, right? So if you're always off, let's say on Sundays, that's your rest day, that's your religious day, then you need to communicate that. Like, messages sent on Sunday will be responded to on the next business day, right? And then enforcing that. So when things do break down, saying, hey, if the client says, hey, I've reached out to you yesterday, I didn't hear anything, it's reinforcing, yes, absolutely, because our communication policy states that we have up to 72 hours during business hours to reply X, Y, and Z. I do find that a lot of coaches, especially those that are empathetic, compromise on this and they reply to things at late at night, on the weekend, whatever. And again, it leads to burnout. Another thing here is to ensure that you, coach, are starting and ending all sessions on time. If you are always letting things run over 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, it is going to become very easy for that client to feel like they always can go over with you and to not be mindful of the time. So this is more important than simply starting the Zoom meeting and just saying, oh, we're over. This is you also keeping your sessions on track. So this is where you have to tap into your intuition. You have to start to understand, when is it good to let the client go on a tangent versus when do you need to stop them because they're always on a tangent, right? And I can't really tell you how to do it. I don't know if it's intuition, I don't know if it's experience, but there's just moments in my gut when I know a client needs to get something out because they're having a breakthrough versus the client that is just long-winded and they just talking to be talking. And you can't get a word in edgewise. You have to also learn how to ask redirecting questions, because typically if a client is going on and on and on, there is no way for them to still be on track. They're typically like being derailed and going all these other places, and that's not the focus of the session. So you have to get better at asking the right questions to get them back on track. Jazz, the motivator, says, once you start this, it's difficult to stop with the client. Yeah, absolutely. Once you let somebody ignore or violate your boundaries once, it is very hard to stop them from doing it again. And that's how it is in your personal life, right? Like, think about people in your personal life who, if you're a stickler for time, like I am, and they're always late, it's like it's just going to be very hard after the 12th time for you to sit here and say, you can't be late with me anymore. Like, you've let it go on all this time, right? Another thing for you to consider here with just boundaries in general is calling things out gently, right? So calling things out gently, if a client does something that violates your company values, your policies, you want to call it out gently and provide context on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate immediately. Let me give you a basic example. So in one of my group coaching programs, twice a month, we have these pre-recorded feedback loops. Basically, twice a month, a client can submit work for feedback. However, they're only allowed to submit 2 pieces of work each time. So it's a total of 4 pieces the whole month. So we've had a couple people try to submit 3, 4, 5, even 6 things at once. And so what we do is we just send a note that says, we're so excited that you're engaged, that you're loving the program and taking action. We're celebrating you. We just want to remind you, per our policy as mentioned on this form, you can only submit 2 things at a time. So let us know which of these 6 do you want us to prioritize? And that's what we'll review and get right back to you. So that's an example of calling it out. Still gentle, right? Still celebrating the client, but we're also providing context on what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. Because the minute I choose to review 6 items and just say, oh, it was a mistake, like they didn't think through that, I'm going to keep getting 6 items. And then let alone in a group program, it gets around that you just were doing all of the things, like and then everyone else begins to expect that. Which, if you have a group program or you want to have a group program, make sure you watch last week's video. It was the very last one I did on the myths and mistakes of group programs, because it can be very costly, very, very costly if you do not run it correctly. So that's something you want to think about. Make sure that when you're onboarding, and I'm kind of jumping around when it comes to boundaries and expectations, but I just kind of brain dump things that I know that I've done that works when it comes to this. When you're onboarding clients, either in a video or on a call, just talk with them about your company values and policies, because especially in this online space, they'll look at you as an expert, they'll look at you as a coach, but they don't look at you as a CEO. They don't look at you as a business owner. And because so much of our time is also spent marketing, the assumption is that we're just sitting around all day on our phone, on Instagram, so we should just be fully available, right? So you gotta let people know, like, look, our values, this, and this. So while we are a coaching company, a development company, we have other initiatives, other things going on, blah blah blah, and that's just part of our values. In fact, one of my company values is respect, and when you break down respect, it literally says respecting people's time. And it literally says, me and my team commit to not wasting your time. Some of you should not commit to wasting mine. We just here, right? So that's an example of what that looks like. And then the policy breakdown, right? Like, I have not had a complaint ever when it comes to this, but my clients know I am in the office 9 to 5 Central Standard Time. Outside of that, I am nowhere to be found. I am not in the office. Also, when I am in the office, I'm really good with responding, but if I'm not, there's a reason for that. And I have an out of office message, which is another thing, to have that on. Like, if you're going to be in all day retreats, all day conferences, have an out of office or something and let people know, because that will diminish the amount of people saying, hey, I didn't hear from you, blah blah blah. So just something for you to think about. Anyway, last thing on boundaries, your clients are not your friends. Oh my gosh. These are not your friends. These are not your homegirls. I know, especially if you have a long program, you and your clients get really close. Your clients share intimate things with you, and there are some personal stories that you have that you are going to share with clients so that they feel like you relate and that they feel like you're connecting. But don't get too comfortable to the point where you are now starting to vent to your clients. Your client should not now have to coach you and be a therapist to you. And what could happen, what's really dangerous with this, we'll talk about this a little bit more at the end of this session, is that you can almost stunt your client's growth when you begin to do that, because they can begin to listen to what you're saying and they can begin to pick up on those insecurities subconsciously and then begin to embody them. Like, you're almost projecting onto that client. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Even if you've had a bad day, a bad week, the first 10 minutes of your session should not be spent on all the hell that you just went through. Like, that is not what your clients are for. That is what your coach is for, okay? So if you're just coming in, we're talking about how to protect yourself emotionally as a coach. So going into step number 2, if you do coaching calls, which I'm assuming you do, you need to have a call preparation routine, right? And this is going to look different for everybody, but this is what it looks like for me, especially considering the bulk of my coaching calls are group calls. I actually just finished the one-on-one calls, and one-on-one calls are actually energetically easier for me. I really miss one-on-one, which is why we're bringing it back slowly but surely. So if you're a subscriber to my podcast, I'm going to do an episode this weekend on, like, just my thoughts around coaching. But anyway, I love one-on-one. One-on-one is easier for me energetically than group. Group is fabulous, but it takes a lot of work for me. So here's what I do to prepare. I read over my notes that I took during the last session. This is very important for one-on-one and group, because if you're seeing a bunch of clients, it is really easy to just get people mixed up, get situations mixed up, can't remember what you said the last time, what you already covered, and you in the moment trying to constantly remember and pick stuff up is going to drain your energy faster, and you only have so much energy, right? So just get prepared, read over the notes, understand where the client was at, what homework you gave them, what you want to cover today. I also like to meditate before my sessions, because I like to shake off any energy I had before going into a call. So again, we're human. Many of you watching me are women. It is very easy for us to have a bad phone call with somebody and need to get into a session, and you never want to bring that energy to your client. So for me, meditation helps me to reset and helps me to clear that energy. So whatever that looks like for you in terms of just resetting yourself and energetically, you want to do that before going into a session. Again, you really want to be cautious of just what you're bringing to a session, because you never want a client to feel like they've aggravated you or they've made you mad or they've disappointed you, when in real life you're just carrying over baggage or something else that you had going on with someone. Additionally, if you can, try to eat healthy, try to eat clean, especially if you have a day. If you're the kind of coach that, and that's not a bad thing, it's just if you're the kind of coach that likes to have a lot of your calls all in the same day versus spread out, like if you're like I'm not doing calls every day. I prefer to only have my calls once or twice a week, which is what I like to do. That means you need to be high energy, high alert all day. That is not the day to order out unless you're ordering from the salad bar. That is the day, and even the day before, honestly, you want to try to eat as clean as you can. Try to implement more healthy greens, healthy juices. I like to juice personally. Celery juice is like my go-to. A lot of water, staying hydrated, because like if you're eating a lot of greasy stuff, you're drinking a lot of caffeine. Even though y'all know I love my coffee, yeah, no, I will drink several cups if I could, but it makes my head hurt after the second one, so I don't. But you want to stay hydrated, because if you're eating all of that bad junk, you're just drinking all of this stuff, it's going to pull and drain your energy. You're going to be yawning at 11 a.m. because you're just so worn out and you've only had one or two sessions. So just try to be very intentional with your diet, with your meal prep. Again, plenty of water. And if you are in a coaching space where you're dealing with very heavy topics like trauma and abuse, and I mean, I've had a couple ladies I've worked with who were coaches for, domestic violence survivors and things like that. If you're working in very heavy topics, you definitely want to do some kind of quick, like, visualization before going into the session. What was recommended to me is just envisioning like almost a white light of protection around you going into it, and that actually helps you to not carry so much of that. But then even after the call, which we'll get into, again, just even taking time to decompress from that. So if you are watching this either live or real time, you have other things that you do to prepare for your coaching calls, please comment them and share them down below. I'd love for us to have like a sharing community. So going into point number 3, having a strong wind down routine after calls. If you have a full day of calls or just one really intense call, do some releasing work afterwards. Again, if you are in a heavy topic space, whatever releasing means for you, if that's more prayer, more meditation, a hot long bath, journaling, exercise, whatever that means for you, where you're able to just shake off the day, you want to do that. Try not to go to bed with that weight on you if you can. Again, plenty of water. Continue to nurture your body with those healthy foods. If you can, plan in advance for time off. Basically, meaning if you know that you are taking calls all day, every day, try to on autopilot have self-care built in, where you take consistent half days every week, or you have a day off every 2 weeks, or you have your whatever self-care you enjoy. If you're a spa girl, if you're, I don't know, a spin class girl, you already have that stuff built into your calendar, so that you're not just burning yourself out into the ground. Because a couple years ago, I did that. Like, I was just coaching nonstop. All I cared about was serving my clients, and I burned myself out so bad. We still recovering from that. So having that built in, trying your best to give yourself breaks between calls. And I totally get the concept of like trying to put all of your calls in 1 day or 2 days each week. But try not to overpile. Try to give yourself at least a 10 to 15 minute buffer in between. Make sure you're giving yourself an actual lunch break. If you can, if your schedule allows, separate the days you're doing sales calls and new client intakes from days that you're actually doing client work, because those are two different energies. So you just want to have that separated. With the strong wind down routine, that right there is a game changer. So I hope that this is helpful for you. We have 2 more quick points and then we'll wrap up. The 4th one is very, very important, and it takes a little bit of time, but you'll get there if you haven't already. You need to learn to accept that you are not responsible for the client's success. You are not responsible for the client's success. The client is responsible for their success. Now, my assumption is I'm speaking to a room of coaches and course creators who have integrity. So my assumption is that you are already coming to the table with a stellar program, amazing frameworks, amazing modules. If you did not watch last week's session on how to raise your rates, I talked at length about quality materials, building really strong programs. So I'm going to assume you have that. So when you have all of that, you're a great coach. You cannot force a client to success. The client has to want it, they have to show up. They have to be engaged. They have to be vulnerable. They have to be forthcoming. They have to be willing to do the homework or the action items or whatever you're asking of them. They have to not self-sabotage. They have to be ready. And there are just some instances where there will be clients who will give you $5, $10, $20,000, but they were not ready and they did not want it. And if you carry the weight on you of the clients who don't get results, you're going to diminish your light for the ones that are ready to get results. Okay? And what's fascinating about those clients, we've all had them. I've had plenty of clients who just never really did anything. These clients, I maybe it's just me, but they've never been mad at me. Like, they've never been like, you didn't do anything. Like, these clients at the end of the time together kind of was like, I wasn't ready. Like, I didn't show up for myself, but I loved our time. And at some point they come back. Some points they don't. In my world, it's kind of hit or miss because some people in my space realize that entrepreneurship is just not for them. There is no shame in that. This is hard. So people who have that epiphany, I commend you for it, girl. Get out while you can, right? So sometimes they don't come back, but those that do, they come back when they're ready. And it's something that's like, it just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but at some point you begin to realize that you can't carry that burden. Like, you can't want somebody else to win more than they want to win. So if they're not willing to do that work, if they're not willing to do the releasing, to do the healing, and to do whatever is required, we can't force them, which is why I ask of you strongly, I was gonna say I challenge you, I ask of you strongly to stop marketing your programs as accountability, because it's such a buzzword at this point. We can't make other adults do anything. The people paying for our programs is not enough for them. Like, we can't, just because somebody pays you does not mean they're going to show up to the Zoom call or whatever, right? So what can you do to make them do something? Show up to their house, beat down their door, because texting them and calling them won't work either, right? Beating on their door, dragging them out of bed, like, that's the only way you can make them do something. And that's not what we're here to do, because in order for you to be successful here, you have to actually want to do it. So if I got to do all that, this isn't the right place for you anyway. So I would just behold you to not market your programs as accountability, and that's your unique selling point, because it's going to be hard for you to deliver on that every single time, and you're never going to get rid of that weight of feeling like it's your fault somebody else didn't win. Okay? And the last thing, final thing here, this is not the final thing, but this is the final thing for me, and you can again add to this list. But I really encourage you as coaches to hire your own coach and or therapist. Hire your own coach and or therapist, because again, you, especially those of you in life coaching, but any space, if you're not working on your own stuff, it's going to be very easy for you to project into somebody else. So in business coaching, if I never would have worked on my money mindset, I might project my money limiting beliefs on my clients and tell them they can't charge certain things, or they can't show up in certain ways. It's very easy to just to put that on them. And at the same time, it's also easy as a coach, especially if you're a booked out coach, to feel like you're pouring from an empty cup, and to feel like I'm there for everybody else, no one's there for me. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, at some points of businesses, you got to pay for that support. You got to pay to have that ear, to have that person cheering you on and to giving you ideas and give you support and this and that. Having your own coach, and again, even your own therapist. Even if you don't think something's wrong, if you have the ability to hire a therapist and pay for a therapist, I would encourage you to do so, because as your business continues to grow, there is going to be different beliefs you now need to face, change, shift, release as you continue to step into the CEO role. So you may as well already have them on standby, right? So then a question came in. So what about the client who shows up but doesn't see results? How do you handle that? It really depends on how well you know the client, because I've had a client before, a couple clients, where they did all of the work, but they sabotaged the whole way. This is why I'm certified life coach, because I can spot it. It's like, you can, on paper, because in my world, it's very easy for somebody to just do the work. They can get on video and they can try to sell and they can make a sales page. But if they did it with the belief and the mindset that it wasn't going to come to fruition, if they were betting against themselves, if they were just doing it, because I've had this too. People will get into our programs, tell me they don't believe in the power of live stream, which is why did you get in my program? You know that's what I'm all about, right? And they did it just to say that it didn't work. Like it was like, I'm almost doing it to spite you. Like I want you to see that this is not gonna work, right? So that may be the case. And there also may be the cases of the clients who just need more time. So some stuff takes more than one try. And I tell our clients in the founder circle in particular, the first launch may not work. That's just how it is. Why is that? You are brand new. You have no idea what you're doing. This is the first time you're implementing a new strategy. It's going to feel uncomfortable for you. You may not show up as your normal bubbly self. There's a lot that can happen with that. But we built the time into our program. Our program is 6 months for a reason, for you to be able to launch at least 3 times with us, so that by the end, you've gotten some clients at that point. Like if you keep doing it, keep getting comfortable with it, we continue to tweak your strategy, you will get some clients. So the other thing is some people just may need more time. So you may need to evaluate, one, is your program long enough for them to see results if they do follow the processes? And two, if they can't, what's your re-enrollment process, and or do you have any guarantees? Because I know someone else who has a guarantee where she says, if you follow all of my steps, you can prove that you did it, that you can show me the work, and you did not see results, I will work with you for free until you do see the result. So some people do offer those guarantees, and you can totally do that as well. If you're very confident in your program and your frameworks, you can do a guarantee. For me, I'm like, I'm just going to make the program long enough for you to see results. Like, that's just what it is. The program is just long enough for that to be a thing. So that's how I handle those situations. So very good question. Thank you for asking. So with that being said, we are coming to a close with Coach Continuing Education Month. I only have 2 more sessions for you all. I believe I'm going live tomorrow and Thursday. I'm playing around with the times between like morning and evening. So you guys have to let me know in the DMs if you prefer morning live streams like I was doing before, the 11 a.m., 12 p.m. situation, or if you prefer evenings. I'm scheduled to go live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time though. So we're going to be talking about the must-have systems for a scaled coach. So if you're making beyond $10,000 a month, you're getting to the point where you're starting to see high growth, rapid interest, you're getting ready to scale. We're going to talk about the systems that you need for a scaled online coaching business. And the very last session that we're going to have together, the secret to expanding your offer suite without confusing your audience. So if you are ready to get away from having one signature offer and you're like, I'm ready for the digital products, I'm ready to put out my book, I'm ready for my event, my signature event, I'm ready for my group program or mastermind, you're going to absolutely love that session. So just as a reminder, if you are interested in getting support on your journey as a coach, whether you are just now getting started or you're at a revenue plateau, you can't seem to go beyond a certain number, or you're ready to scale, we do have open spots in both our group program, the introductory program, the founder circle, as well as our one-on-one programs for our more experienced clients, both Ascend and the Coaches League. So if you go to thepowercollective.co/work with me, you can read about all of our products, our services, all of that, and book a consultation with me. You can also go straight to my Instagram bio and book a discovery call, and I could just talk through with you and just give you a customized recommendation based on the goals you have, the challenges you're facing, and just seeing if we have any synergies together. So again, click the link in my bio, book your discovery call, and I will see you guys on live tomorrow. Have a fabulous day. Bye.